morning, second grade. Ms. Fogelman here for your writing lesson today. Let's start by me sharing my screen. All righty. So what we are working on starting today is poetry. So our learning target is, today I want to teach you how writers can notice different things about poems. Excuse me. We finished our informational writing unit, and today you are going to be introduced to poetry. Before we begin to write our own poetry, we need to study and read someone else's poetry. Let's watch this video to get an introduction to poetry.
What is poetry? Poetry is a piece of writing written by an author called a poet. But what is the purpose of poetry? A poem is written using rhythm, rhyme, and other artistic language to show feelings and emotions. It's often short, but some poets write long poems too. Rhythm and rhyme are a part of many poems. Rhythm is the beat or sound pattern of a poem. Lots of poets use repetition and similar word sounds to create the beat or rhythm. Here's an example. A candy bar, a piece of cake, a lollipop, a chocolate shake. Many poems that have rhythm also have rhyme. Rhyme is having the same sound at the end of two or more words, like bike, hike, and rad, dad. Our poem from earlier has rhyme with the words cake and shake, and it makes me feel hungry. Another common element of poetry is alliteration. Alliteration is when the consonant sound is repeated at the beginning of words. Like Tracy the tiger made a terrifying sound. There are many types of poems that poets write. Some common poems are acrostic, couplet, haiku, limerick, narrative, free verse, humorous, and lyrical. A narrative poem tells a story. There are characters, problems, solutions, and a beginning, middle, and end. Free verse poetry doesn't follow a pattern. You won't see rhythm or rhyme in these poems. Humorous poems are funny, silly, and make us laugh. Lyrical poems express feelings and emotions. They're sometimes sing-songy with their rhythm. Let's look at an example. I have a little frog. His name is Tiny Tim. I put him in the bathtub to see if he could swim. He drank up all the water and gobbled up the soap. And when he tried to talk, he had a bubble in his throat. Let's look for some poetry elements in this humorous poem. Here we see rhyme, rhythm, alliteration, and a character. We know that a poem is written by a poet using rhythm, rhyme, and other artistic language to show feelings and emotions. Poems are usually short, but they can be long too. Listen for descriptions and decide how the poem makes you feel. It could be silly, or sad, or even glad.
Okay, so let's continue. As you could see, there are many types of poetry.
What is poetry?
Whoop, we don't want to watch it again. We are going to look at two today. The first one is called Apples. I see a red ball up in the tree. I feel the apple's smooth skin. I taste a juicy apple. I hear the bees buzzing in the apple tree. I smell fresh apples in the tree. So what do we notice about this poem? Well, the first thing I notice is that every sentence starts with the same word, okay? There are a lot of senses words like see, feel, taste, hear, and smell, okay? There's also lots of adjectives in the poem, like the word red describes the ball, smooth describes the apple, juicy also describes the apple, Buzzing describes the sound that the bees make. So there's lots of describing words in here or adjectives that help the reader to picture what the poet is talking about. Let's take a look at the next one. Of all the children in my school, I may not be the tallest. Of all the voices in the world, mine may be the smallest. But I can almost touch the stars if I stand on my toes. And soon my words might change the world. So you'd better listen close. Okay? So what do I notice in this poem? I notice that first I need my pen. I notice first that there are two words with EST, smallest and tallest, okay? There's also the word I many times in the poem like we saw the last one. I also can tell that there's no rhyming words at the end. Remember in the video, it said that you can have rhyming words, but you may not have rhyming words. So I do not see those in this poem. All right, let's look at the next slide. What do we notice about poetry? Some poems will rhyme, some poems will not. Some are riddles, which riddles, if you remember, are kind of like jokes. They give you hints towards the answer. Poems have stanzas. Stanzas are like paragraphs in regular writing. Poets use line breaks. That means where a line ends. And many times, let me see if I can find one in this last one. Okay, here the line breaks and they have a comma here and then it starts again on the next line. Okay, so many times the poet will write like that because they want you to have a rhythm to your reading of the poem. Poets use italics or bold words. Remember, italics is when they're slanted. We read poems differently than books, okay? So a book you want to have the same speed as you're reading, whereas a poem, you may speed up, slow down, read with more emphasis or less emphasis, and maybe read, some of them may end up a little like a song, depending on if they have rhyming words in them. And there's not always a main character in a poem. In Shobi, you're going to read a poem called Ice Cream. I would like for you to look for the rhyming words in the poem, okay? So you're going to be circling the rhyming words in the poem. Remember, rhyming words are words that end in the same sound, okay? So like rat, bat are rhyming words. All right, so we're going to stop there. I will be putting I'll be putting the ice cream poem in Shobi for you. Make sure you're looking for those rhyming words. Have a good day.